recording.
All right, so we are at Granite Horse Slaughter Camp Monument. The flashlight did come on. Near mile marker 2 on the Centennial Trail. It marks Colonel George Wright's slaughter of about anywhere from 800 to potentially 900 horses in a 1858 during a war between the U.S. government and Native Americans of the inland Northwest.
Is that Colonel George Wright?
That is Colonel, yes, thank you. Colonel George Wright. All right. So what many people consider one of the most brutal, inexplainable, and traumatic acts in the mid-1800 war between the U.S. government and Native Americans of the inland Northwest wasn't about the loss of human life. It had to do with horses. On September 8th and 9th, which we're very close to September 8th and 9th, the anniversary of this, because today is August 18th.
17th.
Right? 17th? 17th, correct. So we're pretty close to that date. The horses were slaughtered by soldiers of U.S. Army Colonel George Wright along the banks of the Spokane River near what would have become the border between Washington and Idaho. And so the reason that he slaughtered the horses was to prevent the Indians from waging any further warfare. So he killed the horses on the bank of the river directly north of the monument that is directly across the way right there.
Right here.
Yep, right. Right, they were all slaughtered, like literally right here. As best as they can tell. So that 8-foot granite tall marker that's standing over there, that's erected over there, sits along the Centennial Trail about a mile west of the Gateway Park Visitor Centers and the truckway station off Interstate 90, which is that truckway station right there. The words carved in the stone do not begin to explain or convey the effect of that one event. Although land east of the Cascade Mountains has been closed to settlement by the Army, there were settlers, and so the backstory of this whole thing is that some had been killed by tribal members. Lieutenant Colonel Edward Steptoe was dispatched to punish the tribes, but he suffered defeat at their hands in mid-May of 1858, near what would become now the town of Rosalia. It was then that Wright set out from his base of Walla Walla to bring the military wrath down upon the Indians, which he did as battles at 4 Lakes on September 1st and then the Spokane Plains September 5th. Not long after, Indian herders were discovered attempting to drive their horses out of Wright's reach, and the soldiers overpowered them, capturing the horses, which may have numbered as many as 900, and set up a camp at the location where the monument now stands. It became as Horse Slaughter Camp.
Is that how you remember it?
Is that how you remember it? And then there was 130 horses that they saved. Did you end up reading this, Charles? Because there was 130 horses that they saved. But because they couldn't be proven to be broken, they were shot. Because they were wild Mustangs. They were the ones that were more treasured by the Native Americans.
So that is how you remember it.
So were you here when that happened? If you were, can you turn the flashlight off?
Wright did state that he deeply regretted
Thank
killing
you.
the poor creatures, but a dire necessity drove him to it. The chastisement which the Indians had received had been severe, but well merited and absolutely necessary to impress them of our power. A blow has been struck which they will never forget. The slaughter of horses was an application of shock and awe, and it worked. A view of the falls, an illustrated history of Spokane, is what William Stinson wrote in order to recount these acts. Historians will argue that it was the cruelest and most needless action, said that the horse slaughter was unnecessary because the end of the Indian Wars was clearly in sight. By the end of September 1858, Wright declared the Indian Wars over. Horse slaughter was an ugly business, according to an account of an officer present. The animals were taken to the banks of the river, shot one by one. Young colts were knocked in the head, and mares were heard crying for their fowls. In addition, on the following day, to avoid the slow process of killing them separately, the companies were ordered to fire a volley into the corral. The physical evidence of horse slaughter lasted a long time, more than over 50 years. The bleached bones of horses could still be seen along the river. Some were washed away in floods, and others gathered up and processed into lime for sugar refining, according to Edmund T. Betcher in his book, Spokane, Corona, Eras of Empire. The physical evidence may be gone now, but the monument is in place so that the horse slaughter won't be forgotten. Wow, that's so sad.
Okay, ending recording.